What's up, everybody? It's Man of Low Moral Fiber here. My name's Luke, and in this video I'm going to be taking out OP8 Pyro Pete with a melee 0. They recently just readjusted kunai to allow you to stack up to 80% damage again. Obviously this is going to help out all zeros with burst damage quite a bit. Basically it means that you'll be doing 50% more damage on things you kunai now than you were beforehand because of the way the math works out. A 1.8 multiplier is about 50% more than a 1.2 multiplier. So all your damage for the, I think it's like 8 seconds after you toss kunai, will be 50% stronger than it was recently. So that works out really well. Zero got a lot stronger as a result of that. I do believe though that you are not able to stack it with another player like you used to be in the long ago, the before time. Where you could get up to 320% with 4 zeros. That's long gone. That was ridiculous. We could one-shot raid bosses, all of them, I think, except for Guy, obviously. Anyway, I'm switching shields between alkaline and inflammable so that I won't catch a second damage over time. His first damage over time is always going to be that corrosive nova. And so I was wearing a grounded shield for that so that I would actually absorb the first corrosive nova to keep my Hide of Terramorphous depleted and keep my roid bonus up. But now I will be switching. See, I'm right now wearing an inflammable, so this fire nova will not get a second damage over time on me. Now Pete alternates between those two elements, and so for his next nova I will be wearing a alkaline Hide of Terramorphous so I don't pick up a second corrosive damage over time. This will enable me to just not have to open a pipe, basically, and not have to deal with rats or spider ants or leveling those little minions up or having to deal with them until a little bit later in the fight. And that works out really well, and I think it's the most efficient way to do this, basically. It might seem a little cheesy to swap shields all the time like that, but as dreadfully long as it takes to just even deplete the shield on OP8, I figured, you know... it'd be better than opening the pipe and stuff, because that would make the fight more precarious for me, definitely. Anyway, so now I'm just going to continue getting my kunai and slag on Pete, since he is melee 0 I'm talking about when I say he right now. Since melee 0 is a character that relies on burst damage, this is very big for melee 0, this kunai fix. But it also, because he's a burst damage reliant character, you got to make sure that all your executes go pretty well. You don't want to not have slag for an execute or not have a kunai stack for an execute, because you are waiting that cooldown time between your main damage points. It's not like with a gun where you might have more sustained damage. You need to make sure that your bursts do go off in efficient volleys, is what I'm trying to get at here. So, Pete's not too dangerous for the first part of the fight because he'll only do one nova at a time. Once his shield goes down, he becomes significantly more dangerous because he'll always do a double element nova. So one shield isn't going to be enough to block both of those for you, obviously. And I think you can time it to catch the first nova and then immediately switch shields to the second nova, but I didn't want to do that. I was just going to get through that as quick as I can during the health phase. Obviously during the health phase you only have to get him to 30% and then you can one-shot him for the rest of the way, which is pretty good because at OP8 it does take a while. Killing Blow is a great thing. It's always been a great thing, but at OP8 once you get to Killing Blow it's such a relief. Anywho, we're getting more slag on Pete now just to make sure and keep that up. We are approaching the transition from the shielded phase to the health phase. And once you do that, you're going to make sure and want to wear the inflammable shield, because fire does a lot more damage to your health quicker than corrosive does. And so it's easier to tank the corrosive nova, and you'll want to be wearing an inflammable shield for that. Alright, this execute will take him down below. Remember that during the nova phase you can get several free backstabs, which will give you some extra damage, obviously. So now I do have that one stack of corrosive damage over time, and I gotta be a little bit careful on that. Go ahead and slag Pete, get kunai on him, and get the execute.
Obviously, we're trying to get him to the 30% as quickly as possible so that Killing Blow will activate. Now that kunai stacking is fixed, you know, I hope they just kind of leave it like this, to be honest. I'm not sure if they will, because they've been kind of vague about it this whole time. So now I have 2 stacks of corrosive damage just as an update, and my damage over time will be a lot more intense, and I'll have to keep an eye out on that. But now that kunai, it works so that you can only have one person stack up to 80%. I don't think you can have 2 people get to 160% anymore. But, you know, that's pretty cool, and I hope to be doing some raiding with some of my friends, melee style. Namely Striker, here in the future. Me and Striker should do some OP8 and level 72 melee raiding. That'll be pretty cool. So be on the lookout for that. Now I decided that I am going to go ahead and wash off this damage over time that I have. And I didn't quite get to the water in time, but that's okay because the water does happen to release spider ants, which the first time you release them are fairly low level and not dangerous. So now I'm going to get more damage on Pete. I do not have any damage over time right now, so I will have to manually strip my shield. Since I am not wearing a grounded Hide of Terramorphous, this will be a little bit dangerous, and so I want to make sure to have the grog nozzle out every time I strip my shield so that I won't kill myself. Now that Pete's going into Nova mode here, I will go ahead and catch this Corrosive Nova, and my shield maintenance will be a little bit easier from here on out. Go ahead and strip my shield for the Roid bonus. Got him to the letters now. That's pretty cool. I'd say that's about like 55%. So I got about a quarter of his health bar left before I can get into Killing Blow. Again, getting more kunai on him for the recently improved damage boost from Deathmark. What did you guys think about the kunai fix? I assume everybody's happy about it. There can't really be any reason to not be happy about it. It definitely restores Zero not to his whole former glory, but you know, most of the way there. That's pretty cool, and I'm very excited about that. I immediately wanted to jump back into Melee Zero just because I had been missing it, but obviously it's gonna pay off huge for Sniper Zero as well. He can benefit from the burst damage just as easily as Melee Zero can. And it's going to work out really well for some of my raid boss kills, and it'll make raiding without pre-stacking a lot more viable. Because it's pretty difficult to raid some of the current raids without pre-stacking as is. So I decide that I want to go ahead and wash off my damage over time. Once again, barely make it to the valve in time. But I do have this cool Malawan E-Tech launcher, and it's able to get me up. So now I'm going to get kunai on Pete, strip my shield, and go ahead and attack him. Obviously he didn't have slag there, so I missed an opportunity to push him into Killing Blow range right there. But now he's only a little bit away from Killing Blow range. Get some more kunai on him, and go ahead and strip my shield. Boom, and now he's in Killing Blow range, and I know that I only need one more execute to go. So I'm just kind of waiting until my execute is done cooling down. Now I'll go ahead and throw my decoy, get kunai on him, and pull out the rapier and end the fight. So that was pretty cool. I hadn't done an OP8 raid boss with melee in a while. I figured I'd start with the easiest one and maybe work my way around to the others. Possibly. Maybe not. If you guys haven't yet, please take the time to subscribe. I'd appreciate that, guys. And I'd like to thank you very much for watching. I'll show you my skill build and gear here. Anyways, guys, I hope to catch you next time. Bye, guys.